Welcome and welcome back. In this video, we're going to cover some drills that we use whether you're beginning to snatch or you just need to tighten up your technique for snatch. We do these particular drills in this order. It's not set in stone, but this is how we recommend starting. And this goes great with our snatch guide, so be sure to check that out too. That's where it'll be. And let's get going. What do we start with first? The float drill, right?
Yeah, we start with the float drill. The swing does not have a tremendous amount to do with the snatch. The idea that a snatch is a swing that ends overhead is bad and needs to die. However,
this is reality.
The propulsion part of the snatch is similar to the swing, and what we're really checking here is, do you possess the ability to do kettlebell ballistics? Even though the mechanics of the lower body for the swing, the clean, and the snatch are not identical, in our opinion, for some people they'll be closer. What we're really looking for is, do you understand how to create force in order to move a kettlebell? The float drill for us has less to do with actually teaching the snatch and more to do with a prerequisite. Are you ready? So the float during a swing happens after you have powered the bell to a sufficient level where it's weightless. And a lot of people, when they're learning swings, they have good swing mechanics or they look like good swing mechanics, but their swings are still a little underpowered. They don't really have the full explosive ability to get the bell where it needs to be. In our opinion, rather than going into snatching, which you could potentially learn to do anyway, nothing wrong with that, but what we do is we make sure that you get the basic. We think that the swing is the basic ballistic. We want you to get that down before you move on to something else. So Jeremiah is going to do some swings and he's going to demonstrate what the float is, and what you're going to look for is a point where the arm is going to go just above parallel to the ground, and at that point the bell will be weightless. Why don't you even let go of the handle a couple times just so people can see that the bell is in fact weightless. How'd those feel?
Good.
Okay, so he got a little bit of a float. So we're using a 24 just for demonstration. Now, if I'm coaching him, his snatch bell his goal is probably going to be a 24. So I ideally want to see him be able to do that with a 28. But at very least, I understand now that he knows how to generate power. I've taken a look. Does he have in my opinion, the prerequisites? And he does. So once I see that he understands how to do a ballistic, the simplest ballistic in our opinion, now we can move on to starting to transition from what he already knows, which is the swing. That's where he learns. That's where all of our people start. We're going to transition from a swing into the snatch, and the next drills are going to show you how to do that.
Now that we've gotten the float down, and like Roger said, we have the prerequisite to get into the snatch with the basics of the swing, we're gonna go to the T-Rex drill. This isn't a swing that we recommend you do all the time, but it's certainly gonna be helpful for you to get that motion of the pull, which is gonna be required for both the clean and the snatch.
Yeah, so with the idea behind the T-Rex, you can do a few variations. You can do a swing and try to actively pull the kettlebell back. It's not really how it's going to work once you start to get into doing the snatch. If you swing and your bell's here and then you start to pull, you're a little bit late. So what we're going to do is, as he goes back into a swing, watch the elbow and the body here. As he stands up, he's going to start to creep that elbow back right along his side here. Don't let me pull that arm out. Okay, so we've got a 90-degree here, and this is strong. This arm, when he stands up straight, go ahead and relax that. This angle is going to be right about there. If his arm is straight, when his knees and his hips are extended, I know he's going to be a little late with this pull. So he's going to start just kind of bringing this elbow. He's going to open at the chest. He's going to bring the elbow alongside of his body, and he's going to keep that glued there if he can, and he's going to let his elbow relax, and he's going to let that float, and then he's going to come back down into his next swing. So let's go ahead and do a couple of those. Nice. Really, really important to determine that the legs are powering the kettlebell. One of the most common errors we see, whether it's snatching or cleaning, is people are trying to pull the bell with their arm, with their hand. Totally natural. You've got this big ball of iron in your hand, you're focusing on your arm. Really normal to pull, but again, the pull that you're really trying to do is just keep the arm from moving from the body. So rather than an active pull back, you're just pulling to keep the bell right where it is. Make sure that the legs generate all the force and arm is glued to the body, let the elbow relax. The more you can let the elbow relax, if you get a swing all the way up to here, that's fine, because that's the direction the bell's going anyway. But we at very least want to see that bell float up, or that bell get up to this high, and you'll start to see this tiny little float, this kind of mini float that he did just with a bent arm. And that's going to be that's the T-Rex drill.
All right, you've passed the float test. You're a prehistoric dinosaur. Now, let's utilize the clean. And some of those mechanics are similar, but let's go into that a little bit deeper.
Just so you know, we have a complete clean guide that's going to be in the description, so you're able to go back and watch all of that and get all the details. What we want to consider with the clean is a lot closer to the snatch than the swing is. They're very similar movements. We've got the lower body that is powering the bell. It's going to be a little bit more vertical. So whereas the swing is going to have the arm all the way out here, so we've got more horizontal force that's required. The clean is going to bring the bell into the rack position, and the snatch is going to bring it into this position here where he's able to punch. Slight difference in the destination of the bell with the clean. So you're going to see when he does a clean, he wants to bring the bell here. There's going to be a little bit more of a diagonal. When he's doing a snatch, he may be able to keep the arm a little closer here. That probably won't work well for the clean, but it's going to work well for the snatch. But either way, what we have is as he goes down and he's propelling the bell with his arms, again, we've got that sneaky, that elbow sliding back along the side of his body, getting ready for him to punch up. In this case though, what we're doing is rather than doing a big punch up, he's just going to catch the bell here. So watch the whole clean guide to figure out how to do that, all those nuances. But basically you're going to see something very similar to the T-Rex drill, but it's directed more upward, and he's making sure that he's got like this mini punch up so the bell doesn't bang his wrist.
Yeah, important thing is still, just like the T-Rex, is I'm keeping that arm close to the body. Remember Roger had mentioned you don't want it to be pulling out, you're controlling it right there. And that's going to make a huge difference in your clean.
Yep. If you think of it this way, when you do a clean, as the arm sneaks back, you need to bring that elbow forward and across to catch the bell. It's almost like a punch up, okay? You're going to do the same thing with the snatch, but rather than going forward, you're going to punch up. So similar mechanics, not identical, but very, very close. The clean is, in our opinion, probably the single best way to practice for a snatch. But the clean can be a really difficult move to do, so it may take a little bit of prep work, but don't forget to use your cleans in order to improve your snatch and understand the mechanics.
Yep, and make sure you get in that description, because that's where the link to the clean guide is. Next up, like we said, just follow this order. After the clean, we're going to hit the elevator. All the way to the top, or just some of the way?
Some of the way. The idea behind the elevator is whereas the swing has more horizontal, you need to learn how to get your force vertical. You just did that a bit with the clean. The reality is if you can get a solid clean down, you're 99.9% of the way to the snatch. We're including this because most people will not get a clean down right
before
away.
They get the snatch, right?
They just don't usually do it. That's an ideal scenario. We drill it and drill it and drill it. But it's not uncommon for people to get all the way to the snatch and then learn lessons from the snatch and then improve their clean. So what we have then is the elevator drill, and the elevator drill is really a T-Rex drill, okay, with the arm starting to come higher. So rather than just him swinging here and letting the elbow swing up, he's actually going to let the elbow disengage a little bit. If you watch from the side though, as the arm goes up, it's not going to come forward a tremendous amount, okay? We're not going to see a lot of that. He's going to let that bell float roughly, I'd say right around his head, you know. Going much higher than that doesn't make a lot of sense because you might as well just snatch. Just snatch. But it's going to teach you how to start to get the bell vertical while you're learning to keep the bell nice and close to your body. If you have a partner,
it's always tricky when the stick comes out.
If you have a partner, great. If not, you can use a wall. But I'm gonna hold this up as just a barrier for him to make sure that he's not gonna let the arm come out very far. So I'm gonna stand over here where it's a little safer.
All right.
Go ahead and face there.
Okay, here we go.
Go ahead. Let's just do a little measuring first. So let me see where your arm is gonna be. Okay, we've also got a little bit of a kettlebell there. You don't want to be right here because the bell's going to hit the stick. So I'm going to come forward a little bit. It doesn't need to be super close. I'm just giving him a visual cue to keep the bell in close, and that should be plenty. Okay, so arm's going to start to come up. Nice. So you also want to make sure that you don't put too much force into that bell. If the bell goes up, and you did it on one of those reps, I don't know if you felt that, but what happens is the bell starts to turn, when you put too much force into it, the bell starts to turn over, which is great for a snatch. That's exactly what you want to happen. But if you're not ready for that in an elevator drill, that bell's going to flip over and hit your wrist. So make sure you keep the arm close. You don't need to power the bell. You don't need to power the bell a tremendous amount because again, if you do, you may as well just snatch all the way and you could have that bell flip over and hit your wrist. But again, the goal of the elevator drill is to start to get the bell vertical. We like to pick maybe 2 or 3 stops. So think, 2 or 3 different floors. So you got the first floor, which is roughly the T-Rex. Then there's a little higher, we'll call that the second floor. And then all the way up, you've got the third floor. So try to hit each of these spots, figure out how much force you need for each one. And again, this is learning how to keep the bell tight and learning how to bring the bell vertical because that's the goal. The swing is horizontal, the snatch is vertical. We're just talking about destination. You're gonna need horizontal and vertical force in order to do this, but you're gonna have a lot more vertical. So this drill will help with that.
Excellent. Now that we've worked our way up the flights of stairs, if you will, through the elevator, ultimately you have to get down from the top of your snatch. So in this video, we're gonna cover the drop.
We are.
Wait for it.
Wait.
The drop is a dance thing. I mean, I think it's like a DJ thing.
Stop it.
Okay.
One of the most intimidating things that we found with the snatch is actually the way down. Dropping this ball of iron, from overhead and then controlling it can be a little intimidating. Once we get past that, a lot of good things happen. A lot of the fear goes away. But more importantly, what we have is people find potential energy. Potential energy is energy that is the result of previous work that you've done. So in this drill, he's going to take the bell and he's going to clean it and he's going to press it overhead. So let's say this bell.
Should I do it?
No, not yet.
Okay, all right.
So let's say the bell.
Wait for it. Wait for the drop.
So let's say, go ahead and pretend you've cleaned it and now press it overhead. So he's had to do work, okay? Just meaning he's had to move the bell from here to here. He can now take that energy that he's in a sense put in the bank and he can take it out. So as he goes through and you're gonna watch the snatch guide for this, as he does the flip, he pulls the elbow straight down. That bell is building speed. It's building momentum. It's gonna come back down in between his legs at the bottom, and he's gonna feel a tremendous amount of momentum that he's gonna be able to use for his next snatch, his next movement. So what we wanna see here is first we're gonna see a clean into a press, and then he's gonna drop it and he's gonna park the bell. Okay, as simple as that. Once we have the bell parked, you've gotten a few rounds that way, you feel comfortable there. What we want to do is we want to actually feel that potential energy. We want to feel the momentum and then bring it into another movement. So a simple addition is going to be to just bring it back into the clean. Remember how closely related the mechanics of the clean are to the snatch. So we're going to build basically half of a snatch by doing a clean. So he's going to take the bell, clean it, press it, do the drop, let it hit the back, bring it back up into a clean. So he's going to feel all that momentum. This is also a really great way to make your cleans better if you're having a hard time feeling them. And that's how it's done. So simple drill. Again, what we're really doing here is we're dialing in the mechanics of the drop, and you're getting to feel all the potential energy turning into momentum. You're getting to feel the force and how to redirect that kettlebell. Eventually what you'll do is you'll take this and you'll do multiple reps. So for the next one, he's going to go ahead, he'll clean it, press it, drop it, go into a clean, and then he'll do maybe 2 or 3 in a row. That's it. So another drill to help with the drop, to feel the potential energy and the momentum, to learn how to control the bell and start to redirect it. We're learning a lot of skills with this particular drill. Very, very useful. I still use this pretty regularly to improve my snatch. You do too?
Yeah.
Really, really big, really important drill. Give it a shot.
Yeah, and ultimately also make sure you watch that snatch guide, because there are certain elements through that whole process, such as the lean and actually where to place that, so you can start putting all the pieces together. You've dropped it, you've gotten better there, and we talked about the potential energy and those type of things. Here's a great drill to start to incorporate some of that stuff, and that's the swing to a snatch.
Different mechanics. Remember, we don't want to confuse the two, because they're dissimilar in a lot of ways, but they're similar in that they do use the same or similar mechanisms to generate force. The reason why we do a swing into a snatch is to help people really feel potential energy in the movement. We can't always do the snatch from the top, probably would be my preferred drill, but from a fluidity standpoint and getting the snatch from the bottom up and then the top down, I like the swing to snatch because it gives people some potential energy. Remember, the swing is going to finish here, so we're going to get both the drop, all the energy that it takes to bring the bell both down but also back in. He's going to be able to gather. He's really going to be able to load up his legs. His snatch is going to feel more automatic. It's going to feel more powerful. So we don't want to confuse the mechanics of these two movements, but what we do want is we want to access the energy of the swing and make this snatch a little bit easier. And this has given us and our students a pretty big advantage when they're having a hard time feeling it. We put a swing in front of the snatch and suddenly everything cleans up. So it's pretty simple. It's just going to look like this. Nice. That's it.
That's it. Let's use some bands. Okay? This is like not a bondage scenario, but an excellent way to get better at the snatch with some drills.
Also a bondage.
Also bondage scenario. If you've seen some of our videos, then you know.
So the first drill is a drill to help the hips get active. Commonly, people are used to swinging where all of the force, or most of the force, is horizontal. And they have a hard time taking the bell from the top, doing this quick turnaround and bringing it back through the hips, which is why the arm tends to get away from people. I think what they're really trying to do is just generate more potential energy, which you will do with a longer arm in order to bring it back the other way. However, you can potentially get banged up if you're doing hardstyle snatching in your shoulder, elbow, wrist with that arm longer than it needs to be. It's less efficient. And what we really want to do is build really quick, efficient power with the snatch. So what we're going to do with this band is he's going to grab it here. He's going to make sure his arms are close so he can bring the arms out a little bit. But basically what he's going to do is take the arms, straighten them, and then shove them straight back through his hips. So what he's doing is he's learning how to, once the bell gets here, he's not just letting the bell drop, he's pulling it back with the hips. So his arms are not creating the tension on the band. His hips pulling back are creating the tension on the band. So as that bell drops, it comes down, he's keeping it close. As soon as that arm is reconnected to the body, he's just shoving it back through his hips. Really solid drill to feel that line of pull and to learn how to create this horizontal force, which you do need to load the hips without having the arm sticking straight out.
Great.
The next drill we have here is to assist with the pull back. This drill has been useful for both snatches and cleans in the past. What you need to do is get a band. This is thickish. What we're doing is we're trying to get the brain to feel the speed at which you should pull. A lot of people want to turn this into a row or some kind of lat exercise, and that's too slow. So we need quick. So what we want is the band is going to actually accelerate the speed at which the arm's coming back to the body so his brain can sense the right speed. The first thing we need though is to make sure your mechanics are proper. So go ahead and push the band out with both hands. What you can see sometimes is as the elbow moves back, this shoulder will dump forward, which is not something we want. So what he's gonna do is he's gonna let this roll around. You see the shoulders opening. Around here, the head of the shoulder or of the humerus is not dumping forward, and go ahead and do that again. So he's gonna get a few nice slow passes, make sure his arm's close to his body, make sure the shoulder's opening up, and when he feels safe and comfortable, he's gonna push it forward with both hands, and he's gonna experience the speed at which he should be pulling. When people do this drill, if they have a slow pull, their pull speeds up because their brain now knows how fast they can go and how fast they should go. The last drill we're going to show you today with a band is one that helps create a barrier. A common thing that we've talked about in these with these drills, you'll hear the term tame the arc, and the arc is the natural trajectory that the bell wants to go through. The bell wants to fall like that. That's just how objects move. It wants to go out toward the end of your arm. We don't want to let that happen. So this is a nice, safe way to give you a mental reminder. It was similar to what I did with the stick earlier when we were doing the elevator drill. People will say use a wall, use a bed sheet. That's fine. If you want to use a wall, use a wall. We like a band.
It gets a little risky.
We like a band because it's something that a lot of people have access to. A lot of people go train at the gym. They can just put this across a couple uprights. Use what it is you need, but for us, we like a band. That way, if you hit it, really isn't going to cause a lot of damage. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to cause any real destruction to property. So what we want to do is we want to come up to the band and we want to see where we think he ought to be. So we've got, this is going to be here. This is our ideal. Okay, the arm's connected to the body. Now, we've got a kettlebell that's swinging through here. I think he's a little farther away than he could be. However, we're going to give him an opportunity to tighten up. So let's find that spot, back off just a little bit, use this visual marker, and your goal is to slowly get closer and closer to this band and control the kettlebell in the snatch. So go ahead and put that down. So from here, it looks like he's about a foot away. So not really very close at all.
Pretty easy.
How close did that feel? Did it feel like it was close or not really?
No, I feel like I had a lot of room to go.
Okay, so he's gonna come forward a couple inches. If you want to really dial this down, you can get tape on the floor if you've got your own home gym, or you can get cones and put a cone either at the front of the toe, the back of the heel, however you want to do it, and gradually get closer and closer. So let's see how we do now. Okay, so he clearly fails. But the first three were right there, okay? But the fourth got away from him a little bit. That could be fatigue. These muscles do fatigue. But you saw he hit the band. It nudged it a little bit. No harm done.
Yeah.
You know, he's not freaked out. He's not afraid to do it again. So he can go through and like I said, if he had marked off his stance, he would know where to go and do his subsequent steps or his subsequent sets when he's doing snatches and working on keeping it close. So this is just one more way you can use the band to make sure your snatch stays tight.
Excellent. Excellent drill to keep that arc tamed and your snatch tight, I believe is how you put it.
That's what I said.
All right, finally, and as we wrap up these drills and finish them out, this is one that's gonna require some real concentration or not, just depends. But certainly you wanna pay attention to this one if you're gonna utilize it. This is the swing to catch.
So it's really like a snatch and release, call it whatever you want.
Okay, snatch and release.
We don't care. The idea is, and if you can do this outside, do it outside. The goal behind this drill, and this is a more advanced drill, it's helped get people from feeling snatch pretty decent to getting it better. But the real goal is to eliminate the arm pull. So commonly as people are learning to snatch and even getting quite advanced, they still don't have that real explosion through the legs and just flying up through the body. The body you're still doing a little bit of a pull that's too high. Even though you do have to use your arm to pull the bell to keep it tight to the body and redirect it, that shouldn't happen very high. Again, if you watch the snatch guide, we want you to pull as low as possible. So by the time your hips should be extended and the bell should still be below your waist. Everything is going to be powered from the legs and it's going to be redirected a little higher. So what this drill does is it makes sure that you're using your legs to get the bell up, because I'm actually going to let go of the handle and I'm going to catch it on my palm at a few different levels. If I'm using my arm to pull, I'm not going to be able to let it go.
Yeah, how can you catch it if you're holding on to it?
Exactly, you're not going to need to because you're already holding on to it. So it's pretty simple. I'm going to try to keep everything as tight as possible.
I'm going to get the hell out of the way.
So the first part is really just going to look like kind of like that T-Rex or like a clean, but rather than catching it here, I'm going to catch it on my palm.
Well, there you have it. There's 8 drills that we use to help refine technique on snatch, help you get better at your snatch, tighten things up in general. Remember, watch the guides. The description has the links to all the videos for your snatch guide, your swing guide, and your clean guide. All these things have little elements that will help facilitate these drills as best as possible. Again, if you have any questions, please leave a comment below or message us on all social media sites at The Iron Revival. It's pretty easy to find. And anything else?
No.
All right, stay strong.